How y'all doing, family? This Chris Rod with Media TV, and you already know how we doing it. We coming with the latest NBA news. We coming with the latest social news. We coming with the latest movie news. Okay, family. I'm gonna be showing y'all this video. It says, "Who would threaten the WHO Cancer Research Program?" So I watched this video, family, and then I'm gonna come back with my thoughts.
Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives are threatening to cut off funding for the World Health Organization's cancer research program. They're doing that so they can punish the World Health Organization for declaring Monsanto's Roundup a cancer causer. Joining me now to talk about it is Tabitha Wallace, co-host of Watching the Hawks. Tabitha, this is one of those issues that you cover all the time on Watching the Hawks. It's one of those stories that, honestly, if you try to find this story in corporate media, it's not there. Tell us what's happening here. I mean, you got the Republicans, they're making no bones about why they're doing this. World Health Organization comes out and says, yeah, Roundup will cause cancer. And so because they say that, they want to cut off funding. This is crazy in the sense that we're talking about something that causes cancer here.
Exactly. I think that's one of the sort of mind-bending things about these stories is that the mainstream media is not focused on them, and to not see these sort of things, which you think, they'd mostly be excited about, pushing back on the anti-science agenda, and they're not. They're sort of leaving it to pass that as if it's just going to go away, the problem of having a science committee that's run by people who don't seem to understand the basics of scientific research and how it works.
Well, I mean, if you follow the history on Roundup, and I know you have, I've heard y'all do great reports on Watching the Hawks. What you start understanding is both the Democrats and the Republicans, you've always had Monsanto is their favorite child. They've gone out of their way on issues like GMO. They've done everything they can to try to make sure that Monsanto gets its way. In this situation, you actually have a congressman who sits on the House Science Committee saying that the cancer's agency research was flawed and relied on by cherry-picked scientists. Now, let me tell you this. I'm actually handling the case against Monsanto. I'll be trying the Roundup case. It's not cherry-picked. It's not flawed. But what is your take on this whole picture?
Well, I think when they say that, this idea of being cherry-picked, this idea that, the World Health Organization, the idea that the International Agency for Research on Cancer, that these groups are somehow working together to hide information, and that's what the congressmen are trying to assert, is this idea that there was information kept from the International Agency for Research on Cancer out of their report on Roundup and on glyphosates. And so there were two major things that they said were these issues of shoddy research or shoddy science. One is that there was one study that the complaint from the science committee was that it wasn't included in their report. Here's the one thing about that study that they're talking about. One is that study was funded by Monsanto. There wasn't enough raw data that even met the minimum standards for a study to be gone over and to actually be looked at by the IARC. And the other really, really big thing to look at is there was a Reuters article, and the congressmen are pointing toward this article. And what the article tried to imply was that an earlier version of this report kept in this conflicting information where when the final report came out, it was taken out. A lot of that is back, again, on these issues of raw data, and on certain reporters are able to push out stories that really help Monsanto's case. And in this case, that's what that was.
I mean, yeah, in this case, again, I'm reviewing the documents, Tabitha. I'm actually reading the documents. I'm looking at the science. One thing is very clear. The reporters, when the World Health Organization came out and said, yes, this will cause cancer, the reporters took that And rather than telling the story about what the World Health Organization did to conclude that, they told Monsanto's story. Now, it's no coincidence that Monsanto is a massive advertiser for all of the networks, all of the newspapers. So we really never got the truth on that story, which is typical nowadays with corporate media. But I got to tell you something. There's another part to this story that I know you've covered as well, and that is that the ghost writing that's taken place is where the Monsanto goes out and they go to universities and they hire professors to write, not even to write the article, but simply to put their name on the article that Monsanto actually wrote about the safety of Roundup. Here's what we found. If we line up all of the reports, the science that was done by Monsanto, you're going to find that 85% of those reports that say there's no connection are all connected to ghostwriting that's paid for by Monsanto. On the other side are reports they're not paid for Monsanto, that all of them legitimately conclude that this Roundup glyphosate has the ability to cause cancer. How does a reporter miss that? How does a reporter not take the time to figure out what's really going on here? What is your take on that issue?
I hate to say that I think that, every reporter that's written a positive story about Monsanto is somehow on the take. I think there are reporters that are definitely being paid for certain organizations and certain publications that they write the happy story that says, look at how awful the World Health Organization is. I think another part of it is just general lack of understanding. You have science reporters that maybe aren't looking at things, they're reading other people's reports on that, because one of the major problems is this idea that the World Health Organization and that the IARC, that they didn't figure out dosages, that they didn't figure out all these other things, and that makes it shoddy work. And a lot of reporters were going along with that story. The thing is, it's not their job. The World Health Organization, the cancer research develops, hazard assessment. It's up to our EPA or France's EPA or their version of things to then decide on those next steps. And it's hard to understand how you can miss that. It's pretty basic.
Right, it is basic. Just in the short time we have left, let me see your take on this real quickly. There's no question, zero question, that around 1990s, the Monsanto knew that their Roundup caused cancer, or they were told, there's a relationship. They were told that by the EPA back in '85. Then the EPA changes all that, and in 1990, though, their own studies are overwhelmingly, they say, there's what they call a triad of tumors. These 3 different kinds of tumors show that there's a relationship to cancer in humans. Here's the point: don't they at least at the very bottom? Don't they at least have responsibility, Tabitha, to let the public have a choice by at least putting that in the warning? What they knew about the studies in 1990s, don't they at least have a duty to let users of that product know?
Absolutely. And we've said that with everything from, cars to cigarettes to certain kinds of food. You have to have a warning label. And I cannot understand how anybody, considering this is on our lawns, it's where your children play, it's ultimately in our food, we have a right to know. And I think any congressperson who's saying we don't have a right to know, you want to look at who's paying them and you want to see who's funding their next campaign. Because at the end of the day, it's not just taxpayers, but all of us. Our safety is on the line, and when cancer is the issue, you can't let politics get involved in that.
Okay, family. So, oh man, this shit is crazy. So, let me read this little passage right quick. I'm reading something from Newsweek.com. Monsanto weed killer Roundup causes cancer, California says, by Douglas Main on Monday, June 26, 2017. It says glyphosate, the main ingredient in Monsanto's herbicide Roundup, will be classified in California as a carcinogen. Okay, then it says the herbicide glyphosate, the main ingredient in Monsanto's weed killer Roundup, will be classified by California as a carcinogen known to the state to cause cancer. The State Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment reported the news June 26, although it will officially take effect July 7th. Monsanto sued the state earlier this year this was of last year, family, to prevent the listing. You heard what I just said, family? Monsanto sued the state of California earlier of 2017 to prevent the listing. So they didn't want nobody to know that the glyphosate Roundup causes cancer. They didn't want you to know. At least if I'm going to be using the product, I need to see at least a fucking warning sign that's saying, hey, warning sign. But they didn't want you to know. These fucking pirate ass, devil ass companies didn't want you to know that the actual product that you was using all these years to kill, weed killer and stuff like that is not only killing the weeds, but it's killing you as well. So why the fuck would I use a goddamn fucking product that's gonna kill the weeds and also kill me too? No, that don't make no fucking sense. I would not fucking use that, but they didn't want us to know that shit, family. Didn't want us to know that. That's like a fucking suicide. That's like a suicide. It's like let's say if you go and you were in some kind of combat or whatever and stuff like that, and you have a bomb on you. Okay, you blow up your enemy, but at the same time you blow up too. That don't make no sense. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying, hey, we want to try to hide this because we don't want people to know that it causes cancer, so they want to hide it. So they're gonna start losing money. But these fucking devils, family, these devils. So it says, however, the St. Louis-based company is appealing to ruling which forces Monsanto and other companies using glyphosate to issue a warning label on packaging. The state environmental office told Reuters that Monsanto has not been granted to stay, so the listing will go ahead next month despite the appeal. So family, if y'all using Roundup, don't use that shit no more, because it don't make no sense to do it, because you're gonna be killing yourself. You're gonna be giving yourself cancer. So family, I just want to let you know and give y'all the news. Do not use glyphosate Roundup, because you will be giving yourself cancer. All right, so y'all have a good evening.